tell us a bit more about what you're going through, but also how did you manage that suffering at that time, and how did you continue to see it as not you when you were in a state where you felt like you were, dying?
Yeah. So, just to give the audience, I guess, a bit of background. When we were fasting together, I did 26 days, and I was fasting to heal colitis that I had at the time. And
could you explain colitis?
Colitis is inflammatory bowel disease. So if you've heard of Crohn's disease, I guess you could call like colitis the sister of Crohn's or the brother or whatever. So it's basically a chronic inflammation of the large intestine. There's different forms of it, but basically you can't really eat anything. It's pretty miserable. So you lose a lot of weight, you're not absorbing correctly. And anything that you eat other than raw fruit and even tender leafy greens is tough, but is excruciatingly painful. And even fruit in the recovery process is even painful as well. But that was what I was there to heal. And I went through a tremendous amount of suffering during the fast. And it wasn't so much, it was physical. I was very weak towards the end. I fasted already in a sort of a weakened state. But, the fast really helped. Physically, it really helped. But more so the emotional purging, the emotional detox that really happened. So I remember I did a lot of the fast in silence because I kind of expected this to happen. I think I did about 9 days, maybe the first 9 of the 26 in silence. And I just, wore the little, would they have a badge or a ribbon or something?
It was a little ribbon that signified people who weren't speaking.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I just wore one of those for the first 9 days. And I just basically did meditation. I wasn't, reading or watching, anything on my laptop or watching the movies with people. And then the heat really started to build up. I decided to break my silence just because of the intensity and just some relief that I needed to talk to people like yourself. That was when we started to really kind of grow close. And I remember the final, I think it was the last 4 or 5 days, I couldn't hardly walk at all. And I was in a really weakened state. But I just had this anxiety and the story that was coming up was, what if I have lost all of this weight and then I'm not able to eat and I'm still in pain? What if, my stomach reacts and I'm not able to eat like before? Then I'm going to I'm already severely deteriorated and now I could be knocking on death's door. This is the story that was going on. How did I keep my distance from it? The truth is, in that state, I didn't. I attempted to, and I had moments of that, but you see, they was all just attempts to change what was actually going on. So it's another way of saying, okay, how can I distance myself so that this situation will change? And this is not true distance. The true distance really is, how can I distance myself regardless of whether this changes or not? It's not whether this fear or whether my physical state changes is not so much important. In fact, you can't be distant, really, if there's a hidden motive for this to change. I'll only be distant, and why is it not changing? Being distant and it's not changing yet. So what happened was, I got to the last 5 days and I had no energy whatsoever physically. And I almost had it was almost as if the physical energy the lack of physical energy I had forced me to surrender to this. So it wasn't like this courageous, willing surrender, like I surrender to all of my fear and emotion. Nothing like that. it was like I am exhausted from trying, and surrender just happened. And as a result, I no longer cared if I was not able to eat. When we started to refeed, I was just in a state of just being willing to die. And when we came to eat, I remember, because I think you was one of the people that helped me. You carried me to the lunch hall, and I was able to eat, and which was the greatest tiny little meal I've ever had. And as a result, there's something about not caring about, and to that point where whether you're going to die or not, and when I stopped sort of, it's not that I wasn't scared or I wasn't, I stopped, or I didn't want to live. It wasn't like that. It was like I was just willing to die, you know.
Had you accepted death in that moment?
I accepted it. I accepted that I might even be scared when it happens. And that was really the surrender, more so than what you might imagine surrender to be. Of this fear is gone, and it was like, if fear's here, that's okay. I'm surrendering to this, you know. And from then, I started to actually heal. I was able to eat much more than, well, I was able to fully eat. I could eat basically anything. And my health grew then, but the journey did continue after that. Yeah.